That night, I looked into Sunny's eyes, and it felt strange. There was something about his eyes that made me unable to look away. I knew this was wrong, or at least, not normal. But the loneliness, the tenderness, the way he was always there for me, made me start to lose control of my own emotions. If you think this is just a story about people and pets, then maybe you should listen to the end. The expansive backyard and the house that seemed overwhelmingly large, for merely the two of us, or as it frequently appeared to be meant solely for me and Sunny Hour. The golden retriever was my unwavering companion, the companion who had woven himself into the fabric of our family. For 5 years now, ever since we chose him, growing into a soft, endearing, and slightly awkward companion as the days pass. His presence had transformed into my steadfast anchor while my husband toiled for extended hours or journeyed far to far-off cities. Sunny was present, welcoming me with a joyful wag of its tail, a comforting warmth, nuzzle, and those expressive eyes that appeared to grasp much more than a mere canine. Tonight should have been one of those nights, the sort that pressed heavily upon me. An empty house weighs heavily upon me. I made an attempt, filling the silence with music from the TV, even an audiobook, yet nothing seemed to assist. Following dinner, a solitary engagement with microwave reheated leftovers. I nestled on the couch with a glass of Sunny sprawled at my feet. He always remained near, as if intuitively aware that I longed for his presence on these nights. I stretched out my hand. I extended my hand, allowing it to settle gently upon his luxuriant golden coat. "You're all I have this evening," I whispered, my voice scarcely audible. Sunny replied, her voice rising above a mere whisper, with a soft, satisfied huff, his tail thudding gently upon the ground. The connection we forged was undeniably unique. He was more than merely a pet. He was a confidant, a presence that enveloped the voids created by my husband's absence. It was during this period that I started to realize just how much I depended on him. How his silence, the presence of companionship, enveloped me in a soothing embrace, wasn't available anywhere else. It was more than just. It was his unwavering loyalty or his gentle nature, the manner in which he appeared to genuinely perceive me, as though he grasped the facets of my being that I was uncertain about how to convey. The essence of the evening extended across the minutes as they ticked away. With an almost maddening slowness, I scrolled, meandering through my phone, casting fleeting glances at images capturing the essence of companionship and kinship. Their lives, brimming with noise and chaos, it rendered the stillness of my existence palpable, even more profound. Sunny shifted. His head now rests gently on my lap, a quiet moment shared between us, and I found myself smiling. At the very least, I wasn't entirely alone. I ran my fingers. As his fur enveloped me, I could sense the warmth of his body pressed against mine. "You're truly remarkable, boy," I said softly, as his tail wagged in response. He released a contented sigh. Moments such as this filled me with gratitude for him, for the straightforward affection he given so generously. It lacked the same essence as having my husband here is a blessing, yet it was sufficient to evoke the solitude tolerable. As the wine gradually started to let it weave its enchantment around the peripheries of my musings, gentle embrace as I descended further into the Sunny shifted once more on the couch, curling up next to me in a manner that created a sense as if he were attempting to protect me from in the vacant house. I bent down, sweeping my hand glided along his back, and I discovered myself engaging in conversation with him absent-mindedly. "Regarding that, Sunny, there are times when I ponder whether he is aware of the extent of time that passes. He spends away," I murmured, my voice barely above a whisper. "I understand that he has a lot on his plate. He's occupied with various tasks, what he must accomplish, yet at times, I find myself yearning for his presence." Sunny's ears perked up, and he lifted his gaze. His eyes were filled with a kind of the realization that caused a deep ache in my chest. Was absurd. I understood the need to convey my emotions directed towards him, yet in that instant it seemed to grasp my essence in a manner that no one else could. Did anyone else understand it? "Don't you?" I continued, my hand gently caressing his. "For you, the room is always filled with your presence." Became increasingly hushed. The soul sounds, the soft murmur of the refrigerator and the gentle rustle of Sunny's breathing envelopes me, and I allow. My hand rests on his side, feeling the steady rise and fall of his chest. It was soothing and stabilizing in a manner I urgently. The silence was no longer felt so needed. It was stifling with Sunny by my side, nearly soothing. As the night unfolded, I found myself pondering the journey of the structure my husband and I had constructed was not without its merits. By no means did we possess a lovely abode, financial stability and a structured routine that functioned adequately for the majority. Yet there were instances. As the journey unfolded, a sense began to take hold. Empty, as if a vital piece were absent. It was difficult to determine the exact moment it began, yet the distance that separated us had expanded. The hushed chasm, a space neither of us appeared ready to bridge. To recognize Sonny gently prodded my hand, with his nose drawing me from my. With a smile, I looked down at him, filled with gratitude. Thanks for the distraction, buddy, I said. As you scratched behind his ears, you always understand when I require your presence, don't you? He gestured with a wag, his tail, his eyes gleaming with a gentle warmth. That stirred a deep ache within my heart. It was moments, such moments that brought to mind just how deeply he signified to me the extent to which he had transformed into an aspect of my existence in manners I had not anticipated. He wasn't merely a dog, he was a lifeline, a reminder of what I was not. Completely isolated, I lingered on the couch, spending hours with Sonny, the burden of the evening gradually unfurling with his presence, occupied the voids by the moment At last, I rose to make my way to bed, feeling, with a sense of lightness and tranquility. Sonny trailed behind me, as he routinely did, curling up on his bed. At my feet as I switched off in a state of ease, I discovered myself reclining, softly murmuring into the void, "Good night. Thank you, Sonny, for your presence and support." As I bid him farewell, something lingered in the air. The look in struck me all of a sudden. His eyes stirred something within me. Perhaps it was the solitude that led to the wine. Yearning to experience a surge of exhilaration. When you find yourself in the company of your dog, that frequently, I find myself uncertain. Yet I was unaware at that moment, but later on, I would certainly seek to uncover the truth, and it had a profound impact. It compels me to undertake endeavors I could have never envisioned. As dawn broke, I found myself awakening to the rhythmic thump of Sonny's tail against the floor. He always appeared to sense when an additional nudge was required to embark on the day ahead. His golden eyes emerged from the edge of the bed and I shared a moment, and I couldn't help but smile as he emitted a soft, joyful bark, almost as if he were greeting the day with a cheerful good morning. Let us. I propelled myself into action, swinging my legs over the edge of the bed. He scratched his head as he snuggled close to me. Indeed. I'm up, I said with a chuckle. Sonny rushed to the bedroom door, hesitating to glance back at me, as though beckoning me to. We followed it. It had become our routine, his silence enveloping us. The unwavering belief that existence continues, regardless of circumstances. The house loomed large, enveloped in an unsettling silence. In the absence of my husband, as the morning light filtered through the windows, Sonny trotted eagerly to the sliding door. A glass door that opens to the backyard. With a tail wagging in eager anticipation, I seized the leash from the hook by the door and his excitement surged through his entire being. Pulsing with vitality, a stroll was precisely what I required to cleanse my thoughts and invigorate. From the remnants of the previous night, reflections of the neighborhood lay still. The soft whispers of dawn, the streets lay still, save for the sporadic melody of birds and the faint, persistent drone of a lawn-mower echoed in the distance. Sonny remained by my side as we strolled. The leash slack, his steps in harmony with mine, was among the aspects I cherished the most about his tranquil and unwavering demeanor. Even amidst the chaos of the world, Sonny possessed a unique ability to center me, to serve as a gentle reminder. I concentrated on the present as we moved along. I chose to release him at the park. With the leash in hand, he bounded ahead, his ears flopping joyfully in the breeze. As he ran, the sheer joy of it enveloped him. Grin spreads across my face as I watch him like that. So vibrant and brimming with vitality, it always inspired me. I felt a bit lighter as I settled onto a nearby, seated on the bench, allowing the sun's warmth to envelop me. Over me while I watched Sonny closely. Was pursuing a squirrel now, though the endeavors carried a more whimsical spirit than a solemn one. You're quite absurd, do you realize that? I made a call, calling out to him with laughter as he glanced over his shoulder. He approached me, his tail wagging furiously, trotted over his tongue lolling out, mouth as he collapsed at my feet. For a time, we simply lingered in silence, the two of us, immersed in the stillness of the dawn. I found myself engaged in conversation with Sonny once more, as I frequently found myself doing so when it was merely the two of us. There was something comforting about us. It seemed as though he served as a sounding board for the musings that lingered just beyond the reach of my voice. To anyone else, I'm not sure. Sonny, I started to lean down. Have you ever pondered the act of rubbing his ears? What existence might resemble if circumstances were. It would be different if we weren't confined to this. Each day unfolded in a familiar rhythm as he gazed up at me. With those large, expressive eyes and one could nearly envision him uttering, "I'm." It was, of course, rather silly to listen to it. Believe that he grasped the intricate layers of my reflections yet within. Moments like this it felt like he did. However, let me clarify that I truly appreciate what we possess, yet at times it seems as though, it feels as though something is absent, you know? I let out a weary sigh, reclining against the bench. Your father is a good man, yet he is perpetually absent, and when he arrives, it feels as though we are just going through the motions. Sonny let out a soft whine, resting his head on my knee, and I felt a pang of guilt. "I'm sorry," I said, scratching the top of his. "Perhaps you need not lend an ear to my words." Sonny refrained from rambling about all this, appeared to care. He remained right there, his head resting on my knee, his tail gently wagging, slow and steady. It was moments like these that brought to mind the extent of my reliance, regarding him not merely as a companion but as a companion, a friend who was ever present. As the morning unfolded, I found myself in need of him. As we journeyed back home, I devoted my time to the remainder of the day spent addressing tasks of that nature, of ordinary duties that aided in the passage of the time seemed to stretch as Sonny trailed behind me from room to room. His presence in the room was a constant source of comfort. He had collapsed in the corner in every room I occupied, his gaze monitoring my every step as though to declare, "I am. Fear not." For later that evening, after dinner, I found myself once more on the couch, with Sonny nestled beside me. The solitude I often experienced during the absence of her husband lingered, yet it was not as burdensome as it had been the previous night. Prior to Sonny possessing a talent for enriching the void of experiencing the stillness, not as stifling, yet I still felt a sense of absence. Something, and every time I cast my gaze upon Sonny mentioned that he could take care of that. As I extended my hand, I gently caressed his soft fur, fingers gliding over the gentle undulations of your coat. "You're truly a lifesaver, you know." I mentioned. My voice was soft, but I'm uncertain. "What would I do without you?" Sonny responded. With a gentle exhale, his tail thumped softly. Reclining comfortably against the couch, a smile crept across my face. Reclining and allowing myself to unwind. For the first time all day, the warmth of his body pressed against mine brought a sense of solace, anchoring in a manner that surpasses all else, appeared to be as the evening unfolded. As I pondered the connection we revealed, it wasn't merely the loyalty or the companionship, despite those circumstances. Undoubtedly, it was the manner. Sonny appeared to perceive me, drawing me in a manner that seemed nearly sentient. He was greater, more than merely a dog. He served as a poignant reminder that I was not solitary even in the stillest. In the quietest hours, I found myself anchored to the couch, enveloped in solitude, with Sonny long after twilight had surrendered to night. The two of us enveloped in the stillness, the warmth of our shared space. It wasn't the life I had envisioned for myself, yet in that moment, it seemed sufficient. Those days, the routine of my life merged into a haze, consistent yet unremarkable. My husband's return was once more postponed, marking yet another journey that had extended beyond the initial timeline. I reassured myself that I was, in fact, okay with it after all. I had become familiar with his frequent departures, yet, as the days unfolded, I discovered myself relying increasingly on Sonny. It was in the waning hours of the afternoon I found myself standing at scrubbing dishes at the kitchen sink while Sonny reclined languidly in the threshold, his ears quivering at the slightest melodies of the community. The golden radiance poured in through the window, enveloped the space in a cozy glow, yet I remained. An icy sensation enveloped me, my mind drifted aimlessly. I gazed into the backyard, feeling the weight of my solitude bearing down on me. "Sonny," I called softly, breaking in the stillness. He raised his head, his gaze piercing through the quiet, fixating on mine as though he could perceive a change in my mood compels us to leave this place behind. With the leash in hand, I guided him toward the car. We had no specific destination in mind, yet the act of departing from the house felt akin to a subtle uprising against the drudgery. Sonny occupied the passenger seat, his leaning out the window, his fur fluttering in the gentle breeze enveloped me as I navigated without purpose. In the town, his joy radiated, and I couldn't help but feel it, myself beaming for the first time. Eventually, we found ourselves immersed in the embrace of nature. On the outskirts of town, the reserve, the walking trails were serene, the kind of location where the sole noises were the gentle rustle of leaves accompanied by a distant chirp of birds. I released Sunny from his leash. Observing him leap forward, his tail trailing behind, wagging with fervor he had always cherished the great outdoors, and witnessing him so brimming with vitality soothed the pain in my heart. I trailed behind him along the path, the gravel crunches beneath my feet, anchoring me to the earth. Sunny darted between the trees, stopping occasionally to look back at me, as though seeking confirmation of my presence. His energy radiated, and I felt a sense of calm enveloped me, easing the tension in my shoulders, relaxing as I breathed in the. As we strolled, the air was crisp and clean, and my thoughts wandered freely, drifted into the existence I've crafted with my. I loved my husband, or at least I believed I did, but recently that affection seemed more akin to a habit rather than a feeling, a quiet presence, companionship that was devoid of the spark it once possessed, and in his absence, it became Sunny, who had occupied the space left behind by his steadfast devotion, an explosion to my unease. I discovered a serene clearing and took a seat, sitting on a fallen log, observing Sunny, explored with enthusiasm, his tail wagging as he eventually meandered back to me, collapsing at my feet with a contented sigh escaped my lips as I reached down, my fingers grazing the surface in a gentle scratch. Behind his ears, he nestled close, my hand, his warm and steady presence. Once more, you anchor me, you are my steadfast support. I mentioned that my voice is gentle. Sunny gazed up at me, his eyes brimming with expression, gaze brimming with a comforting glow that enveloped my. The chest tightened. It was moments like this that brought to mind the depth of his significance. To me, how his presence had transformed into a beacon in a realm that frequently seemed overwhelming. Softly, the sun descended toward the horizon, casting elongated shadows across the clearing. Sunny and I spent our time there together, enveloped in the tranquility of the present moment, appeared to bring the outside world to a standstill. The reserve gradually dissipated until only we remained. A peculiar clarity washed over me in that stillness, as though the burden of my thoughts soared, granting me a sense of liberation to merely exist as we journeyed forth. As I returned to the car, it struck me just how much I required this respite from the confines of home, from the monotony of the mind that had been swirling in my thoughts as Sunny trotted beside me. His footsteps echoed in perfect harmony with my own. A wave of gratitude washed over me for him. He wasn't merely my dog, he was my unwavering companion, my anchor, the singular element that brought meaning to the drive home, made loneliness bearable. The tranquil setting sun hues the sky, in hues of orange and pink, curled up in the passenger seat, his head gently resting upon his paws. His breathing remained steady and, with a rhythmic motion, I extended my hand, reclined upon his back, and experienced a feeling of the tranquility I never realized I was seeking. Upon our arrival, the house seemed to lack its usual warmth. Sunny trailed behind me, the emptiness less suffocating. Within him, the tail wagged as he found his place. I sank onto his bed by the couch, the cushions exuding a subtle sense of the deep sense of fulfillment in the connection I experienced with Sunny stood apart from everything else in my life, is simple, unadorned, and unwavering. As night enveloped the world, I found myself lying in bed, with Sunny nestled comfortably at my feet. I found myself pondering the bond we forged was not merely an ordinary thing. It was something I could articulate with ease, yet it remained genuine and substantial in a manner that saturated the voids created by my husband's. Sunny's absence was more than the loss of a pet. He was a companion, a confidant, and a cherished part of my life. He was my partner, my confidant, and in numerous ways, my dearest companion, and for the time being, that was sufficient. Or was it? And then the night that followed was shrouded in an unusual darkness, the sort of inky blackness that enveloped throughout the home and nestled against the air felt heavy and charged as windows. Yet a tempest lingered on the horizon. Sunny trotted alongside me as I progressed through the house. His steps were silent, yet his presence was grounding. I hadn't turned away. Illuminating the dim radiance of the moon illuminated my path as I journeyed toward. I settled into the embrace of the cushions on the couch. Sunny nestled beside me, resting his head upon my lap. The stillness of the house enveloped me. The absence of my husband is overwhelming, a vivid reminder of the vastness he engaged even in his absence. A hand gently brushed against Sunny's fur, gently caressing the air. My mind wanders, swirled. You are all I possess at this moment, whispered my voice, scarcely perceptible in a moment of quiet. Sunny replied gently. His tail thumped rhythmically against the couch. He gazed up at me with his golden eyes, imbued with a comprehension that rendered my chest ached as I released a shaky breath. My hand rests gently on his fur. It's just the two of us. Aren't we? The ones where the words lingered. The air weighed down more than I had anticipated, yet Sunny appeared unfazed by his gentle nuzzle. Nearer, his warmth enveloping me as the burden of my solitude weighed heavier. The bond we shared seemed to shift. That night felt stronger somehow, yet it wasn't merely the solace found in his presence or the way he appeared to perceive my every emotion. There existed a profound connection, a bond that transcended the ordinary. Transcending the confines of language and reason, I reclined, shutting my eyes as I allow myself to descend into the moment, the stillness, the embrace of warmth. In the presence of Sunny, time appeared to dissolve into a haze as we lingered in that moment, just the two of us. Enveloped in the tranquility, my hand glided forth. My fingers trailed along to his head. The gentle arc of his ears, he released a soft, contented sigh escaped him as his tail wagged gently, softly against the couch. The sound of his breathing was steady and rhythmic, filling the air. The room envelopes me, anchoring my thoughts in a way that I opened my eyes, a sensation I hadn't experienced in weeks. As I glanced down at him, our gazes intertwined. In that fleeting instant, all else dissolved into the background. The vacant space, the desolate dwelling, the longing. In the wake of my husband's absence, everything unraveled. Departing with only the two of us, my fingers brushed, lingering on his head, as I felt an exploration through his fur. An unexplainable attraction, a bond so profound. It left me breathless as Sunny shifted, drawing nearer, his warmth enveloping me. Soothed by the frigid void that had nestled within my chest, I leaned forward, my forehead gently pressed against his. As I gently closed my eyes once more, allowing a moment washed over me. It was unlike anything I had ever experienced. A blend of solace and a deep yearning of appreciation and something, an intensity that eluded my ability to articulate. I can't imagine my life without you. My voice trembled as I whispered. Sunny offered Ed a gentle nuzzle. His nose grazed my cheek as his tail wagged once more. It was although he comprehended as if he sensed, the identical silent connection that had developed between us. The minute elongated in the world beyond the confines of my home fades from memory as I remained there alongside Sunny, the bond palpable between us, enveloping me like it was more than his mere presence that served as a lifeline. He was unwavering in his loyalty, constant and ever-present. It was the manner in which he kept me close. Experience recognition and comprehension in a manner previously unknown to me. Experienced in years, I couldn't quite determine the duration we remained in that state until my heart raced as I pulled back. Her breath came shallow as Sunny's eyes remained locked. His expression was calm yet intense, as if he were anticipating something. My hand lingered on his head, my fingers flowing down to his collar as I fought to articulate the thoughts that eluded me. What I was experiencing, yet there are no words to capture the profound significance of what Sunny represented to me, in terms of how his presence had occupied the voids throughout my existence. All I could do was remain seated in that moment. My hand rested on his fur, my heart racing as, eventually, I endeavored to make sense of the moment. I reclined on the couch, my hands still reclining on Sunny as he found his place. Once more, the weight of the presence beside me. The moment lingered, a subtle reminder of the connection we forged through his transformation, far beyond merely being a dog to me as the night deepened, a feeling of clarity envelopes me, the kind that originated not from reason but from an essence that resonates, a primal understanding. Sunny had always been my steadfast anchor, steadfast in a realm that frequently seemed overwhelming. In that moment, I found myself engulfed in chaos, feeling an overwhelming sense of loneliness. Understood precisely how little I required him, not merely as a companion, but as a vital lifeline. Just a gentle reminder that I wasn't alone in the house. Remained quiet as I finally took the path to the bed, with Sunny trailing closely behind. He nestled at the foot of the bed, an aura of calm assurance that I wasn't entirely alone. I lay there in the depths of darkness, my thoughts continue to swirl, yet my heart feels a touch lighter, a bit more. As I surrendered to the embrace of slumber, a profound sense of tranquility enveloped me, murmured softly into the stillness, gratitude expressed Sunny for all that captured his gaze, me in a manner that allowed him to sense my emotions. The solitude, the yearning for connection, the excitement in his eyes conveyed a message that he was the one capable of providing that to me. In the absence of my husband, a stirring within me emerged. Began to contemplate whether I found myself surrendering to those alluring temptations. Perhaps I shook my head, signaling that I couldn't proceed with this. Though there is undoubtedly something within me, a part of me yearned to discover what he was engaged in, and perhaps later on, I might succumb to that allure, yet I shall not. Still, I found myself unprepared for what came next. Morning sunlight poured through the bedroom window, bathed in a warm, golden light. Across the room, I blinked awake. The weight of the previous night lingers, hovering in the recesses of my thoughts. Sonny was already awake, sitting with quiet patience. Beside the bed, his tail brushed against the floor. With slow, deliberate movements, the morning unfolds. "My friend," I whispered, bending down to. As he scratched behind his ears, he leaned into the moment. My hand, his warm breath teasing the wrist, a simple gesture, yet it bore a burden I had previously overlooked. As I prepared for the day, Sonny traced my steps from one chamber to another, the events of a quiet comfort presence. The echoes of the previous night danced in my thoughts, vibrant and unrefined, as if they had carved into my memory. They couldn't stir the sensation that something, the essence, had transformed in our connection, although I found myself uncertain of its meaning afterward. As the morning light filtered through the window, I found myself back on the sunny rests at my feet, enveloped in the stillness of the room. The house seemed to exude a lighter atmosphere today, more like a cocoon than an emptiness. I allow my fingers trail through Sonny's fur, thoughts wandering as I sought to understand of the feelings swirling within me. For years, I had concealed my emotions, shoving them deep within, them submerged below the surface to maintain life flowing seamlessly. Yet Sonny encountered a method of eliciting them from my own creation. Faced the solitude I had endeavored to. Impossible to overlook his steadfast devotion, his silent comprehension. It had been a lifeline I never knew I was longing for. Sonny was gazing, unaware of the impending moment until it was too late. Gaze upon me with those eyes once more, and all of in a moment of weakness, I found myself unable to hold back any longer. Our connection was so profound that I felt an undeniable need to. Yielding, it felt as though he were conveying he could fulfill the emptiness within me. With a tinge of excitement, I leaned into the embrace of loneliness. As I moved closer to him, he instantly understood that she kissed him, and an undeniable tension filled the air between us that I struggled to articulate. The tale was in rapid motion, naturally. While I can't divulge every detail, I am able to share some information. I confess that I have surrendered to indulgence. I embarked on my. She turned around, her knees trembling in awe at the sight of Sonny. Was engaged in his pursuits, something I could have never imagined. Envisioned that it might be that wonderful. The bond we shared only deepened. What we were doing was quite unremarkable. Incredible. After I pondered for about 30 to 40 minutes, he finished, and I let out a sigh, leaning back against the cushions. "What are we doing, Sonny?" I murmured, my voice laced with a gentle undertone. With a blend of awe and perplexity, he gazed up at me, his golden eyes locking onto mine, and for a fleeting instant, it seemed as though I was awaiting a response to the others as well. The day drifted by in a fog of the ordinary tasks and ephemeral flashes of insight. Laundry was neatly folded, the kitchen was cleaned, and strolled with Sonny through the neighborhood, constantly bearing the burden of the bond we shared pressed against me. It had become impossible to overlook any longer, regardless of my efforts. By the time, as evening descended, a sense of restlessness washed over me, an electric tension coursing within me that I couldn't quite shake. The feeling as I grabbed, with Sonny's leash in hand, I stepped out through the door, seeking clarity. The air was sharp and refreshing, the subtle aroma of timber. The smoke wafted gently on the breeze as we crafted. As we made our way to the park, the paths lay in serene silence, illuminated solely by the gentle radiance of the street lamps cast their glow, punctuated by the occasional flicker. The glow of headlights appeared in the distance. Sonny moved alongside me, his pace unwavering, and, with unwavering assurance, he kept stride with my pace, and I allowed it. He took the lead, relying on his instincts. As we meandered further into the park, we ultimately discovered ourselves in a hidden, brushing aside the grass, moist with dew, and the air resonating with the gentle whispers of the. On that night, I found myself seated on a bench, Sonny nestling at my feet, his body radiating warmth. In opposition to the evening's cool embrace, the stars above were brilliantly scattered across the night sky, spanning the heavens like fragments of crystal, and, for a fleeting instant, I sensed the burden of the weight of the world has been lifted from my shoulders. Sonny moved, resting his head gently on my knee, and I bent low to caress his fur. Familiar motion anchors me. You have always been here for me, haven't you? Whispered gently, my voice echoing through the quietude of the night unfolds. Everything, he replied with a soft whine, his tail wagging against the ground. It was a mere trifle, yet it filled my chest with a comforting warmth that banished the persistent shadows of. In the shadows of uncertainty and isolation, Sonny found herself not merely existing, My dog was my companion, my steadfast support, steadfast in a realm that frequently seemed overwhelming, vast and overwhelmingly vacant like the passing moments. Extended into hours, I discovered myself, articulating the phrases flowing forth. Like a torrent released from a dam, I conveyed to Sunny, concerning my anxieties, my uncertainties, the pain of a marriage that had evolved into something more. The connection I spoke of is more routine than evenings passed in solitude during the instances when his presence was the sole element, preventing me from unraveling, and, through it all, Sunny remained steadfastly by my side. His silent demeanor offered a comforting sense of assurance that he was never alone, his loyalty and love were always present. Unlike anything I had ever experienced, and it filled the voids in my heart that I hadn't noticed that the drive was empty. The home was enveloped in a quietude, the sort of silence that was imbued with significance instead of void. Sunny nestled into the passenger seat, his eyes fluttering shut as the cadence of the road's gentle rhythm lulled him into slumber as I cast a sidelong glance. A smile tugged at the corners of my lips as I extended my hand to caress my fingers gliding over his fur as we arrived home. The house exuded a warmth, an inviting aura that surpassed all expectations. In the weeks that followed, Sunny trailed behind me. The couch sank softly beside me as I curled, nestled beneath a blanket. The stillness, the companionship we shared was sufficient. An echo of solitude. In those instances when solitude eluded me, I allowed the head reclines against the back of the couch, my fingers gliding over empty designs. Through Sunny's fur, you are my steadfast support. My voice trembled as I whispered, heavy with emotion. You have consistently been my steadfast support. Sunny moved nearer, his form pressed against. As his tail wagged softly, mine. The connection between us was undeniably profound. A connection that transcended mere language or clarification. It was an aspect I had not. I completely grasped the situation, yet I was aware of its authenticity. And that sufficed as the hours passed by. As the house settled into silence, the world outside hushed as well. Beyond the horizon, merging with the tranquility of that night, I lingered on the couch alongside Sunny. His presence offered a constant solace as I find myself drifting into a serene haze. Regardless of what lay ahead, I was certain of one thing. One thing is for sure, Sunny would be present. His loyalty remained steadfast, his love steadfast in a realm that frequently seemed unforeseeable. After weeks of waiting, I finally experienced a feeling of lucidity, a tranquil assurance that I found myself in the company of others, and as I surrendered to the embrace of slumber. As I lay there, Sunny nestled beside me, a sense of knowing enveloped me, that whatever lay ahead, we would confront it. Together as he rested there beside me, I found myself pondering whether it was acceptable. What we had done. Am I simply peculiar, or is it something more? This is quite ordinary. I simply find myself uncertain. I would appreciate your thoughts on it. Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments. Thank you.